Yes. Welcome everybody. Daf Ayin Ches. So yesterday we ended off with the halacha that a husband cannot be matir, and a chacham cannot be mefer. Pasuk Zeh Adover in the beginning of Parshas Matos, Adav Moshe El Moshe Matos Levnei Yisrael. Zeh Adover Shetzi B'Hashem. Zeh Adover. Only this is coming to exclude two things. Only this means we're talking about now a husband's going to be mefer. So only this. A husband could be mefer, and husband cannot be matir. And also only this, a husband could be mefer, but nobody else could be mefer. A chacham cannot be mefer. Hope I said it right. So we look from the same zedah where we learn out after these two things. A chacham is matir and not mefer. A baal is mefer and not matir. And it brought up brisa, and now we're continuing to see that on the fifth line. It seems to be a continuation of the brisa. That's what it sounds like. It's not a tanya yidach, and let's continue straight into it. So it could be, maybe it's a different brisa. I don't know. So a little bit. I'll make it I put a chart on just to hope that it helps. If it does, there are two parshas. One is Nedarim, and one is Shkutei Chutz. Nedarim is our parsha, Parshas Matos, that it says that a husband could be mefer, etc. And Shkutei Chutz is in Parshas Emor, I think. Achimos, I forgot, I don't look it up. That over there also Zeh Adover Shetzi B'Hashem, Eshesh B'Nei Yisrael. Might as well look it up already. You probably should look it up. It's not proper. But you could sign. That's probably Parshas Achimos. Yeah, Parshas Achimos. So over there it says also Zeh Adover Shetzi B'Hashem. The Gemara is going to say that there's a Gzeir Shavah. We learned already that it says Ein Baal Matir and Ein Chacham Mefer. We learned that already. That was not the Gzeir Shavah. That was just from the mashmos of the words. This is this and nothing else. But now the Gemara is going to talk about a Gzeir Shavah between the two parshios that it says the same words. So there's a Gzeir Shavah link between these two parshios. And the Gemara is going to say that it teaches you two things. One of them is going to be learning out from Shkutei Chutz to Nedarim, and one is going to be learning out from Nedarim to Shkutei Chutz. Like every kind of Gzeir Shavah, that is a two-way street, and we learn out from each one. The Gemara is going to bring up, I'm just saving a preview what's going to happen. The Gemara is going to say a pasuk that it says by Shkutei Chutz, Aaron Uvanav of Chol Yisrael, that it says, speak. Hashem told Moshe, speak to Aaron and his children and all Yisrael. And then it continues that what? That no one should bring Shkutei Chutz. No one should. Shkutei Chutz means if you shech the korban outside of the Beis HaMikdash. That's why nowadays you're not allowed to bring korbanos, because Shkutei Chutz, you're not allowed to bring a korban out of the Beis HaMikdash. Over there it says Aaron Uvanav of Chol Yisrael. And from there we're going to make a Gzeir Shavah to learn out to the Nedarim that there's such a thing for Sholosh Yotos. How do you learn out Sholosh Yotos? Maybe it's questionable. How you see in these words that it's talking about many people. It does say Aaron and his children, which may be leaders and Achamim, but it says Kol Yisrael over there. Maybe they also say that it says Aaron, Bonot, Kol Yisrael, three terms. Maybe that teaches you three. So you learn out that it doesn't have to be Dafka Mumchim, Dafka somebody who's a Chacham to be able to be Matan Neder, even Gimel Yotos also. That's going to be the drasha. And then there's a passage that it says by Nedarim, Rashi Amatos, which on the contrary, Rashi Amatos seems like it's Rashi Amatos, the leader, somebody special. And we're going to learn out that applies also to Shkutei Chutz, that the parsha of Het Nedarim applies to Shkutei Chutz also. What does that have to do with each other? Matan Neder and Shkutei Chutz, because it comes out of big chiddush that if somebody was makdish a korban and then later on he wants to be shoel on the hektish, he wants to retract that he made a mistake, he wouldn't have been makdish if he would have known certain facts. He wouldn't have been made a hektish. The same way you could be matir neder, you also could be matir hektish, and it comes out that it's always based on the fact that it's a mistake. How come Het Nedarim works? Because he says it was a mistake. I didn't mean it. If I would have known, I wouldn't have done it. And also by hektish, if you hold that if someone made a mistake, he made hektish by mistake, that it doesn't take effect. So there's also a concept called yesh sheva hektish, that you could retract the hektish, and it's going to come out that it's not going to be Shkutei Chutz. Comes out a fascinating concept, fascinating case. That somebody took a korban and checked it outside the Beis HaMikdash in his chayt paras, and then the one who made it hektish goes to the Rav and says, I would not have made it hektish if I would have known. Maybe this is enough. He would have known that someone's going to be chayt paras. So there then he retracts. Okay, whatever the case, maybe it's going to be charota, but he says, I retract the hektish. So he could retract the hektish, and the person who brought it outside is not going to be chayt. And that's unbelievable, and it seems to be true. So that's what this is just a preview what's going to happen in the sugya. there's a Gzer Shava Ze'adover. We learn out something from Shkutei Chutz to Nedarim, something from Nedarim to Shkutei Chutz. We learn out that there's such a thing of Gimel Adiotos to be Matan Neder. Yeah, just like you have over there, the Pasuk Arna one of the Holy Israel, which we'll see in a second what that means over there. And there's also Pasuk Rashi Matos that it says by Nedarim. That's why it's called Pashas Matos. It says that word by Dabar Moshe Rashi Matos of Israel and more. So it says Rashi Matos, which sounds like the leaders, and from there learn out to Shkutei Chutz that it's possible to be Matan Neder, just like you Matan Neder, you also can be Matan Hektish. And if somebody bought a korban, made a korban, even bought the korban already, bought it b'chutz, it's possible to be shoel yeshela and it's sheila. Yeah, I'm sorry for the spelling of this, for the writing, and the spelling is right, just sloppy. But you learn out that you can retract the hektish also. We'll get a little bit further on the chart later, but first just to get the Gemara so far. So back to the Gemara.
Now, in a regular case, you make something hektish.
Yes.
Can you go and then say that if I were known this,
that's what it says. Yeshela hektish means you can retract hektish.
Hektish.
Yeah, you mark something, and then you say the hektish is like kind of a nether.
Right.
I guess, and maybe you need to drush it to learn it out, and it comes out that it was a mistake, and it's based on the so that if you made a mistake back that you marked something by mistake,
right,
it doesn't take effect. So therefore, you can do shayla hektish also. So here's where the Gemara starts. We're on Dafayin Ches, about 5 lines down. It says Ze'adover over here by us Nedarim, and it says over there. Where's there? Shkutei Chutz. That's in Pashas Achrei, where it talks about you're not allowed to bring a korban outside the Beis Hamikdash. And over there it also says Ze'adover. Ze'adover she'atziva Hashem leimor yishish b'beis Yisrael asher yishchat. So you learn how to Gzer Shava both ways. First, now b'Shkutei Chutz Aaron Levanu b'Chol Yisrael. Over there by Shkutei Chutz it says the pasuk over there that Hashem spoke. Hashem told Moshe, speak to Aaron, the one of Yisrael. This is the pasuk that it says Shkutei Chutz. So now you transfer that pasuk to also Nedarim. Precious Nedarim, Aaron, the one of Yisrael. So the Gemara didn't yet tell us what you learn from there, but it just says you make a transfer. Whatever pasuk over there is if it says it over here also, and then the other direction also. Umakan Rashi Matos by Nedarim. It says Rashi Matos. That's what we said at the beginning of Pashas Matos. Aflahalan Rashi Matos. Transfer this pasuk as if it says it also by Shkutei Chutz. Now the Gemara explains what do you learn from all these things. So far, just says you transfer the pasuk from one to the other. Now it tells you what you learn out. The Pasha is some words missing over here. It should say Aaron Levanu b'Chol Yisrael. The Pasha is Nedarim. For what purpose do you learn out that the pasuk of Aaron Levanu b'Chol Yisrael also applies to Nedarim? To teach you the Hakshish Shalosh Hedyotos. This pasuk of Aaron Levanu b'Chol Yisrael, after you transfer it to Nedarim, it teaches you that 3 people, even at Yotos means commoners, plain people, not mumcha, not a chacham gadol, also they're kosher to be mater neder. Doesn't say how you learn it out. It says Kol Yisrael. Kol Yisrael sounds like commoners. Maybe the Rashi is also because it says Aaron, one of not the Rashi. Rashi over here says as Aaron, one of the Kol Yisrael. 3 terms. That's how you learn out. 3 maybe. Others learn differently. Once you know that Hedyotos are good, and you're going to see soon that a mumcha, in order to be a yachid, one person to be mater neder by himself, you have to have a mumcha, so you have to have more than 1. You can't have 2 because then based on shakol, so it must be 3. There are different ways how to learn out 3. But this is the source where we're going to learn out that you don't have to have mumchim. It's possible to be mater neder even in Shlosha Diotis. The Gemara says, how could you say Shlosha Diotis is good by Nedarim? Or Rashi Matos. It says Rashi Matos Beferish by Nedarim. You have to have the Rashi Matos. When Hashem spoke about the parsha of Nedarim, so Moshe spoke to the Rashi Matos, to the leaders of the Shvatim. Amata means a shevet. Rashi Matos, the leaders of the tribes. So that means you have to have Dafka Chashuvim. Mumchim, something like that. How could you say that any 3 commoners can be mater? There says Dafka Rashi Matos. Rashi Matos is telling you that you could have sometimes a mumcha is necessary. You do sometimes have to have Rashi Matos. When it's going to be a yachid, 1 person alone is going to be mater neder, then you have to have a mumcha. But if you want to use Hedyotos, then 3 is also good.
The yachid means what?
An individual person.
Does what?
To be mater neder.
And then he has to be a monk.
Right. If you want to, you have a choice. When you want to mater neder, you can go to 3 Hedyotos, 3 commoners. But then you talk about the Mefarshim here. The Gemara doesn't talk about it, but the Ran goes at length. That's why the page is so short, because the Ran goes at length to talk about what's a commoner, what's a mumcha, What are all these things? What's the status? How smart do you have to be? Does it mean smicha? Does it mean kamer v'savir? Does it mean about how much does he have to know? What's called the common rule also? Does he also have a minimum? But that's very in the Mefarshim, that's not in the Gemara over here. So far, what did the Gemara say? That you learned us to jump into the chart a second. If we had say Adover by each one, the Nedarim and Bashut Eichutz, we have executive to learn one from another. Aaron and one of the Holy Israel teaches us that Gimel Yotas are also good by Nedarim. By Rashi Amatos, it means it has to be Dafka leaders. That tells you a Yachid Monka. The Gemara continues. Rashi Amatos Bashut Eichutz l'ma Yochasa. You told me that the Gzeir Shava goes the other direction also. That it says Rashi Matas by Nedarim, and you apply that as if it says it by Shkutei Chutz. What is that going to teach you to Shkutei Chutz? To teach you that it's possible to retract. It's possible to retract Hekdesh. It's possible to retract Hekdesh. Just like you see by Nedarim, the whole Parsha Parshas Matos is talking about Nedarim, and over there there's going to be some limud that you're allowed to be matin neder. Over there, really, is talking about a parah. The whole Parsha Matos is really talking about a parah. It's nothing to do with the Rashi Matos. It's very interesting how the Gemara doesn't even make a hurdle out of this. That the whole Parsha in the beginning of Parshas Matos, but the Nedarim is talking. It's talking about that the father could be made for, the husband could be made for arusa and nesua. That's what the whole Parsha is. In the beginning, the first pasuk says that if a person makes a neder, so he should not retract lo yachel de baro. And over there we learn out that he cannot do it himself, but other people could. And over there it says Rashi Amatos, comes out the Rashi Amatos has nothing to do with the husband and the father. That not do with Rashi Amatos. Over there, the husband and father, wherever he is, it could be the biggest commoner. He could be the town drunk. He's the father or he's the husband. But the Rashi Amatos is coming to teach you as far as Hataras Nedarim. That's not so fairish in the pasuk, but that's what's coming to teach you Hataras Nedarim. And now that we transfer that the Rashi Matos applies not only by Nedarim, it also applies to Hekdesh. We can learn out a new thing, Yesh Eila B'Hekdesh, that it's possible to retract Hekdesh, and the Mefarshim say even after someone was transgressed Shkutei Chutz, he brought a korban outside the Beis Hamikdash in his Chayt Koros. Now, if the one who made it Hekdesh is going to retract, it comes out it was never a korban, and he shaved the Shechted Chulin. Fascinating thing. So so we have most of the chart already. What is that over here? We have the Gzeir Shava, and we have Arna Vana B'Chol Yisrael that it says by Shkutei Chutz. We transfer also to Nedarim, the Gimel Yotas are good enough. We have the Rashi Amatos that says by Nedarim, which means the Yachid Mumcha, because sometimes Yotas are good. Gimel Yotas are Yachid Mumcha, and now we transfer it to Shkutei Chutz to tell you Yesh Eila B'Hekdesh that it's possible to retract Hekdesh also. I think that it comes out that that's the Pshat in most Psukim. Arna Vana B'Chol Yisrael is coming to teach you to be people. Again, Shalosh Yotas, the same way we learn from here to Nedarim, that's what it means over here also. Shkutei Chutz is going to mean that you could be matir with three Yotas or with Yachid Mumcha. If not for this Russia, then we wouldn't have known that there's such a thing b'chlal of Sheila B'Hekdesh. Once we know Sheila B'Hekdesh, so then it's also going to be the same dinim. If there's a Yachid Mumcha, one is good enough. If there are three, then even a Yotas are good enough. And this is the Gzeir Shava between the two parshiyos. Everything's nice. Now the Gemara is going to throw in a stick into the wheel. That Beis Shammai disagrees with this. Beis Shammai doesn't hold of Yeshel, he holds Ein Sheila B'Hekdesh. Beis Shammai doesn't hold of this last thing. And that is going to ruin everything. He holds no such thing. It's not true. There is no such thing by the Hekdesh. If someone cannot retract Hekdesh, the big Chiddush we said today, that it's possible to retract Hekdesh, Beis Shammai doesn't hold of it. The Mefarshim say, where do you find the Beis Shammai doesn't hold?
Let's start. We start out this way. Where do we know that you could make Sheila?
This is it.
None.
This is the drasha.
I'm saying without that, it's a chiddush to say it is.
Yes. Kasa was a chiddush, and now Beis Shammai doesn't hold of that.
Right.
So what are you going to say? Now everything falls off. If you don't hold it that, so then the Gemara is going to say, if you don't hold it that, you can't hold the Gzeir Shava. If you don't hold the Gzeir Shava, so then we're going to have to fill in what the psukim are for. He's not learning out these halachas. Where does he learn out the halacha from? But the stick that the Gemara is going to throw in is that this doesn't fit according to Beis Shammai, because Beis Shammai holds Ein Sheila B'Hekdesh. There's no way to retract Hekdesh. The Mefarshim say that there's no beferish. You don't find beferish where they talk about this, but you do find they talk about Hekdesh B'Tos, which is really the basis of She'ela. Whenever you do She'ela, what are you saying? I made a mistake. If you hold, even if you made a mistake, it's still Hekdesh, so then it doesn't help you. You can't be Shoel. Like someone said very nicely that the whole Hataras Nedarim is based on the principle that if you made a neder by mistake, it doesn't count. Then we could talk about Sheila, that being not a neder. But if it will be halacha that even if you did it by mistake, it still takes effect, nothing to talk about. So Beis Shammai doesn't talk about Sheila Hekdesh, but they talk about Toas. Toas Hekdesh B'Toas. And Beis Shammai, we hold Hekdesh B'Toas is not Hekdesh.
Right.
But Beishamai says hektish b'tos is hektish. He gives an example that he said the black cow that's going to come out is going to become hektish, and a white cow came out. Beishamai says that is hektish because he said he thought that a black one's going to come out by mistake. He didn't know what's going to come out. So Beishamai holds hektish b'tos is hektish, and therefore there's no sheila. So that's going to be more discussion now. He can't hold of this whole system over here because he doesn't hold of yesh sheila b'hektish. That's the Gemara now. Beishamai.
In that case, it's really unbelievable. Because
What?
he's saying only that it's a black cow.
So maybe I made a mistake in how I said it. The Rush brings it down. Let's maybe it's jump to the Rush over here. I got it from the Rush. I think also the Ron brings it down, but I look up too far. I looked at the Rush. Beishamai, let's know. What does it say? It says B'Mseches Nazir. Amar Shor Shachar Sheyetzi Mibeshi Rishon Yehi Kadosh. I did quote what he said, but maybe I have to look over there more. So it says V'yatza Lavan Beishamai Yom Hektish. So it says it the way I said it, but maybe you have to look more over there. If he said if he didn't say the first black cow that's going to come out, okay, he said the first black cow, but he says that he said the black cow which is going to come out, the cow which is coming out which is black, something like that. Okay, so I don't know the details over there, but that's the sort of looking for hektish b'tos. The Shammai says hektish b'tos is hektish, and therefore they can't hold that it's possible to do Sheila, because what's Sheila going to do? He's going to say, I made a mistake. So we say, okay, you made a mistake. Even if you made a mistake, it's still effective.
It's only problem according to Beishamai.
Right. According to Beis Hillel, it's good. Everything we said is good according to Beis Hillel, but Beis Shammai has to explain the psukim also. And that's going to be the Gemara's question now. The Beis Shammai Dama ain't Sheila Bektish. Rashi Hamatos Tichsiv B'Shchutei Chutz. We just said Rashi Hamatos T'Gzer Shabbat teaches you to Shchutei Chutz that there's possible to do hektish, Sheila b'hektish. Beishamai doesn't know that. So it must be Beishamai doesn't know the Gzer Shabbat. Beishamai doesn't know the Gzer Shabbat. So Beishamai doesn't know the Gzer Shabbat, so we have to go back. And what do we? If you don't hold the Gzer Shabbat, so then we have to explain what each pasuk is necessary for. If you have the Gzer Shabbat, you don't have to explain. You don't have to explain each pasuk because the whole purpose of the Zer Davar is to make the link. That's the purpose. The purpose is to make the link, and we learned out these two halachas. Shalosh Yotis is good by Nedarim. Yesh Sheila b'hektish. But if you don't hold of the Gzer Shabbat, so what is this pasuk for? What is this pasuk for? What are the Zer Davars for?
So if he doesn't hold from the last one, then all three fall.
Because Gzer Shabbat has to be a two-way street. So if he doesn't hold of
The last one, then
he doesn't hold right. It's not. Maybe my chart is not so clear, but it's not three. There's a Gzer Shabbat, which we run out two directions. I just split up. The arrow just says right. It's only. This means there is a Gzer Shabbat. What do you do with the Gzer Shabbat? You learn this. This Gzer Shabbat tells you that you can learn this way, you can learn that way. But he holds you can't learn that way, so you can't learn this way either. So there's no Gzer Shabbat. So if you make an X or something like that, they don't give me they give me possibilities to make over here. What do they give me? A markup means a pen. They give me a pen over here. No pen. Oh, I did get a pen. Okay. Okay, we'll try. Beishamai doesn't hold of this. So he doesn't hold of this.
Right.
So what does he do with this and this? So the answer is going to
How
be,
does he learn the other day?
what is that?
And how does he learn the other din, which was not there?
And how does he learn Gimel Yotos? And this he's going to have to find, how is he going to know this? This he does agree to. He erased this, but he doesn't erase this. How's he going to know this? That's the question mark over here. So first the Gemara has to explain, what does he do with each pasuk? If you hold the Gzer Shabbat, so you don't have to have any drash for Zer Davar. The whole purpose of Zer Davar was just to make the link in order to learn out these other things. But if you don't hold of the Gzer Shabbat, what is this pasuk for? What is that pasuk for? So the Gemara is going to say that the Zer Davar was to teach you what we had yesterday, that Ein Baal Matir and Ein Chacham Mefer, only this, and nothing else. So what it says in the parsha that the husband could be Mefer, a husband cannot be Matir. And what it says that a husband could be Mefer, a Chacham cannot be Mefer. We had that yesterday also, and the Mepharshim point out that some people, some Beis Hillel will learn this plus the Gzer Shabbat, and it won't be a mufna. Fine, that's already technicalities. I mean, more deeper. And the Gemara is going to ask also what do you do with this Adavar. The Gemara is going to tell us soon. We'll see what the words mean. En Chayav Ala Malika. So if that's good, we go back to Gemara. The Gemara is finished saying, Beishamai, let's look Gzer Shabbat. So now the question is, what do you do with each Adavar? Adavar, the Parshas Nedarim like Siv. Why does it say the word Adavar? You don't need it for Gzer Shabbat. There's no Gzer Shabbat.
Roshei Amatos.
Where are you?
Roshei Amatos to see. He's there from the Beit Shammai.
Okay. The Beishami dam ein shela back this. Shavashem matos techsib b'shlutesh chutz l'mayotasa. That word is extra. If you're not gonna, I mean, you can't learn the Gzer Shava. Vashimatos that, what does it mean to say? It doesn't really say Vashimatos b'shlutesh chutz. It means Vashimatos that we transferred to shlutesh chutz. For what purpose is it going to be? The answer is going to be we don't transfer it. Beishami that's no Gzer Shava taka. There's no Gzer Shava, so it doesn't say Vashimatos b'shlutesh chutz because we took away the Gzer Shava. Now the question is, what do you do with the both Zeh Dovars? Zeh Dovar b'Parshas Adam l'Maksiv. The answer is going to be to tell you what we told us before. Lomer Chacham Mater vein Baal Mater, Baal Mefer vein Chacham Mefer. That only what it says Zeh Dovar, that a husband can be Mefer, but a husband cannot be Mater, and a Chacham cannot be Mefer. The other question also, the other Zeh, what do you do with the other Zeh Dovar? Zeh Dovar b'Shchutei Chutz l'Maksiv. You don't need it for Gzer Shava. The answer is Lomar Al Shchita Chayiv vein Chayiv Al Amalika. That Shchutei Chutz is only Shchita, but not Malika. Only what it says. It says Ish Ish. The basis for Hashem Shrat Shor Kesef. It says Shchita over there, and it says Adava Dafka this. And even though there are kavanas that are done by Malika, Malika means that the Kohen does it with his fingernail on the back of the bird's neck. That's also the way. That's the way you shech. You don't shech. That's not called Shchita. That's the way that you slaughter the kachim bird. So there's no din shchita chutz. If someone would have done that, of course he wouldn't be chayiv for the chorus. And you have to have the zeh dover, that's what it says. So just to go onto the screen a second, that's what he did. Oh, I'm sorry, the wrong one. Where did I go? This one. That no, back to the screen again. Yeah, this one. That zeh dover was to tell you ein chayiv ala malika. The Shammai doesn't hold of shela bektish, so they can't hold the Gzer Shava. So they have to explain what each pasuk is for. Zeh dover tells you ein bal mater ein chacham mefer. And Zeh Davar of Shchutei Chutz tells you there's no chiyuv for Malika, only on Shchita. Shchutei Chutz is only Shchutei Chutz, not Malukei Chutz. Malika's Chutz. Back to the Gemara. Ella lebeis Shammai la'achshin shlosh hadyotos minolan. If you don't have the Gzer Shava, so then the question is, where are you going to know the din of shlosh hadyotos, which was this question over here? That till now we use the Gzer Shava. In fact, that's the only reason why we brought Tol Gemara in, is to tell you that there's a din to learn how Shalosh Hadyotos by Nedarim. But Bishama doesn't have that. So how's he going to know it? And that's now goes the rest of the Gemara. How is Bishama going to know Shalosh Hadyotos? If he would make a title for today's daf, what's the subject? There's a lot of information. What's the subject? That's the subject. How do you know Gimel Hadyotos? How do you know that there's such a thing as being mataneder with Shalosh Hadyotos? Rashi Matos tells you that you need leaders, you need chachamim, smuchim, whatever it is. That's going to be a yachid muncha. And how do you know Shalosh Hadyotos? That's the question. So far we had a Gzer Shava. According to base Hillel, it could be a Gzer Shava. You learn off from Shchutei Chutz that it says Aaron Avanu B'chol Yisrael. And now we're looking for Beis Shammai. Where's he going to get it from? Hello, the Beis Shammai. How do you know? So now the Gemara is going to go off on a tangent, and we'll come back. Now going now to Parshas Emor. All the Parshas Emor is where it has all the Moadim, the whole Parsha of all the different Yom Tovim. It starts off Eila Moadei Hashem Asher Tikvosam B'Moadam Eila Moado. It goes through Shabbos and everything, Chodesh, Pesach, everything, and ends off by Daber Moshe Moadei Hashem El Bnei Yisrael. Nafkalahu mid Ravasi Barnasan. From Ravasi Barnasan's brisa, he's a Amora, it seems, but he brings a brisa into the Besmedrash, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to go on his search what he did with this pasuk. That's it. Like Daber Moshe Moadei Hashem El Bnei Yisrael. Everybody knows this pasuk. Ended the parsha of Moados in Parshas Emor. Moshe spoke the Moadim of Hashem to Bnei Yisrael. He called them all the Moadim, but they take out the hay. Over here, the hay doesn't make sense. I think they say take out the hay. Tanya. Tanya.
It's proof.
And we let's so far it's a pasuk. So far we were a pasuk. Now we're living a brisa. The Tanya Rabbi Yosef Lili Yomer Moadei Nemru V'lo Nemru Shabbos Bereishis Iman. Over here it says only Moadim. It does not include Shabbos. It has a whole list of different chagim, and it doesn't say Shabbos. It ends off by Daber Moshe Moadei Hashem Bnei Yisrael, and Shabbos is not included. If anybody would read the parsha, they would jump up and say Shabbos is included. It says over there Shabbos. You learn the parsha just to jump up with the pasuk over here. If we learn Parshas Emor,
Yeah, but at the end it says that they were.
by Daber Moshe Moadei Hashem Bnei Yisrael. That's what it says. What do you say? What do you want to say?
The end of all the Gemara.
At the end it says Eila Moadei.
Let me just find more.
It's in Yom Tov, right?
We say in the beginning it says El Moadei Hashem. Let me just find it. We're in the Parshas Emor.
Twice.
It says twice.
At the beginning, it's twice. First it says Shabbos, and then it goes again, Erev Moadei Hashem.
Right. By Dabar Shalom Moshe Lema. This is by Revi Perikal Gimel. Dabar Bnei Yisrael V'Amarta Lahem Moadei Adinai Shetikru Yisam Mikrei Kodesh Elohim Moadei. Then it starts Shabbos. Sheshes Yom Te'asem Ulachov Yom HaShvi Shabbat Shabbos. Then it goes about Pesach, and then about the
No,
Omer.
then it
Shavuos.
says again, Erev Moadei, no?
And then after everything,
Right before, after Shabbos, not after Shabbos.
right after Shabbos, no. Oh,
Right,
Elam
right.
Moadei. Okay, Elam Moadei Hashem Mikrei Kodesh Shetikru Yisam Moadei. That's nice. Ahora. That it says in the beginning. Moadei Hashem Asher Elohim Moadei. Then it says right again, like 2 psukim later, Elohim Moadei Hashem Mikrei Kodesh. At the end of the whole thing, it says after it finishes about Sukkot also, I guess. Yeah, Sukkot after Sukkot. Then it says, the right before keep a Sukkot Seishvu, keep a Sukkot Shavti, and the last pasuk is by Vayidaber Moshe Moadei Hashem Abnei Yisrael. And Rabbi Yosef Levi said, Shabbos is not here. Shabbos is not here. So I've listened as an answer to Mark's question, but
That's supposedly we say on Yom Tov.
Yeah,
That,
yeah,
so we definitely want to put this to make this a Yom Tov issue, no? Isn't that?
I'm just reading the psukim. The pasuk starts off that Hashem told Moshe, "Tell Bnei Yisrael, these are the Moadim,"
All right.
and it starts off tells you Sheshes Shem and Teres Malach of Yom Shvi Shabbat Shabbos, and then it says El Moadei Hashem. It says Pesach, and then it says Omer Shavuos Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur Sukkot, and it ends off by Vayidaber Moshe Moadei Hashem Bnei Yisrael.
Can you say that Shabbos is the shorish for everything else?
And basically, it says it doesn't say Shabbos over here. Below Nedarim or Shabbos Divine.
Sheshes Yamim, Tavod.
So yes, in Kasha, yes, don't ask it like a con. You have to jump up. It says Shabbos.
No, but I'm saying that.
He says it doesn't say
I'm trying to
Shabbos.
first understand maybe as shorish, but not the actual.
But it says
Lord.
Shabbos. It says Shabbos. It says Shabbos. That's Shabbos Bereshis is another way of saying Shabbos. Shabbos, regular
Don't have
Shabbos.
Shabbos Bereshis in the hymn.
Yes, period. That's what the Rebbe Levi said. That it says over there, Moadim, and Shabbos is not there. Benaz, another brisa. Benazai Omer Moadei, like Moadei Hashem Nemru. Velo Nemru Parshas Nedarim Mohen. That Nedarim is not there. It says all the Moadim, and it doesn't say Nedarim. What does that mean?
What does that got to do with the Moadim?
Yeah, what does he think? It is that it does that. So fine, that's what he said. That over there says Moadim and it doesn't say Parshas Nedarim. So Rav Asi Bar Nosson had kashas. This Rav Asi Bar Nosson is Namor. And he had this brisa that said he said it doesn't say Shabbos.
Benazai
Benazai is a Tana. And he said that it doesn't say, so he had this brisa, he had these two brises, he had Rabbi Levi, and he had
Benazai is
Rabbi.
a different brisa.
It seems to be the same brisa. And Rabbi Levi says something, Benazai says something. Rabbi Levi said that it doesn't say Shabbos over there. Benazai says it doesn't say Nedarim over there. So Rav Asi Bar Nosson is not a kasha, he doesn't understand the brisa. So he went.
We didn't understand the rice either.
We also, right, but we sit here. And Rav Asi Bar Nosson, he went to Nardo to find Pshat in the brisa.
Wow.
From
Why-
where?
why-
Where did he go?
He was going to Rav Sheshes to find
Why-
Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes should tell him Pshat in the brisa. Rav Asi Bar Nosson, kasha le'yamas ni, so he didn't know what the brisa meant. Also, the Nardo, the Kamed Rav Sheshes, and he wasn't there. Rav Sheshes just wasn't in Nardo. So he went further, I have to find Pshat in this brisa. Probably couldn't sleep at night. Asa Abbas Veilam Mechuzah. So I don't know how he knew that it was in Mechuzah. He went to Mechuzah. Mechuzah is, I think, is further away than the rest of the Yishuv. You find it on the other side of the Diglas. The Taibish. Right? And he knew where to go. He found out Sheshes is in Mechuzah. He went to Mechuzah. He went to Mechuzah to find Pshat in this Bryson. I think that the more is telling you this to find, to learn out. You're supposed to go places. If you don't know something, so go figure it out. Find the road.
Today it's not so, today you just call.
At least make a phone call. At least make a phone
Or at
call.
least do a search on the computer.
He went to find out. He was matriarch to find the Pshat in the Bryson. Amalei. And now, what would we ask? If we would find Rav Sheshes, what would we ask in the Brisa?
We would start hacking a couple of them.
But he asked for
What
two
does that
questions.
mean? It doesn't say Shabbos.
Oh, why did Hashem never? Shabbos Bereshis Iman. Rabbi Yosef says that doesn't say Shabbos. Well, Ksiv Shabbos it does say Shabbos.
Who said that?
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
That's the kasha.
Nas's kasha.
Yeah.
Now the next kasha we would have asked, why should it say in the Nedarim by Moedim? Of course not. But he asked differently. He says it does say Nedarim. Vesu Moadei Hashem Nemu V'lo Nemu Parshas Nedarim. When they said that it doesn't say Parshas Nedarim over there, it does say. Well, Mesitra Ksiva, it says it right there next to it.
No citrus.
Sitra, they bring down here. You look in the Rashi, it says
It's
it's side.
no?
Yeah, it's side, right? Sitra means it's side. It's right there. It's next to it. Now, where is it next to it? The truth is, it's not next. It's not next to it. It's not in Parshas Emor. It's not next to it. But in Parshas Matos, what?
Like Korbanos Amor.
The Kavanas. In Parshas Pinchas, that's the Kavanas of the Moedos. In Parshas Pinchas, and right after Pinchas is Matos. And Matos is all about Nedarim. So he's saying, I would have been bothered. I think everybody was bothered. Why should Moedim, what does that do with each other?
Right.
Moedim should include Nedarim. So we'll see. He didn't ask the kasha. I think it's also a good kasha. But the Gemara says that it does say it. That was his kasha. We could have asked, and it should say, like, what does that do with each other? What does Nedarim have to do with Moedim? But anyway, he asked the kasha that it does say. On both of them, he asked the kasha that it does say it. If Yosef says it doesn't say Shabbos over there, then Azai said it doesn't say Moedim over there. And Avasi Ibn Nas's kasha was, it does say Nedarim and it does say Shabbos. And he went to Rav Sheshes, still he found him in Mechuzar to ask him his kasha. What's wrong with the Brisa? Amalei, so Rav Sheshes told him, you have one shot on the Brisa. The Brisa doesn't mean that it doesn't say it. The Brisa means that something that applies to the Moedim does not apply to Shabbos. Something that applies to the Moedim does not apply to Nedarim. Some din that applies to the Moedim does not apply to Shabbos.
Does not.
Does not. Not because it doesn't say it. Is there going to be some drasha to say that a certain principle that applies to the Chagim does not apply to Shabbos.
Okay.
And a certain principle that applies to the Chagim does not apply to Nedarim. He's not coming to say that it doesn't say it over there. That's the word sounded like. It doesn't say it over there, gracious. It doesn't say over there Nedarim. It doesn't mean that. It means to say that Shabbos is not included. Halachically, Shabbos is not included in something. And halachically, Nedarim is not the same as Chagim. This is what the Brisa means to say. So we turn the page. Moadei Hashem tzvich kiddush bezdin, Shabbos b'reishis ein tzvich kiddush bezdin. That the Moadim, you have to have the bezdin should announce and declare what? Declare when the Rosh Chodesh is.
Be holy.
Right, how do they do that? They say when Rosh Chodesh is. When they're going to say Rosh Chodesh, the Chag is talui, is dependent on
Shabbos
Bezdin.
just falls on no matter what.
Right, Shabbos doesn't have anything to do with Bezdin declaring it. Even if they didn't say that today is Sunday, the seventh day is going to be Shabbos anyway. So the Yom Tovim are dependent on the Bezdin, Kiddush Bezdin of the beginning of the month, and Shabbos is not dependent on the Kiddush Bezdin at the beginning of the week. So that was what I meant to say, that Shabbos is not included in the Moedim. What does it mean to say? Not that it doesn't say it over there, but that which it says by the Moedim does not apply to Shabbos. So before we go further, how do you know by the Moedim that you have to be Mekadosh the Chodesh? Over there, there's a drush because it says Asher Tikru Osam, and the drush this doesn't say in the Gemara here, but the Mephushim bring down Asher Tikru Atem. That's where you learn out that they have to do Kiddush Chodesh. That Atem, you people, have to be Mekadosh. Over there, it's talking about Moshe and Aaron, that they were the leaders, and Ein Bezdin Shokol, so you have to have a third person, but you have to have the leaders that are Mekadosh the Chodesh. You have to have the Sanhedrin that's going to be Mekadosh the Chodesh. And that halacha does not apply to Shabbos, even if they were not Mekadosh. They didn't say that the Sunday is Sunday. Anyway, the seventh day is always going to be the seventh day, is always going to be Shabbos. That was as far as Moedim. Now we get to Nedarim. Moadei, second line. Moadei Hashem, Tzvichin Mumcha, Be'in Parshas Nedarim, Tzvichin Mumcha.
This is all by Shammai we're talking about now?
We're going to say Shammai is going to use this Russia. That's what they're going to find out. What do they say over here? So again, by Moedim, you have to have Kiddush Chodesh. You have to have in order that the Moed, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, you have to have that Bezdin should have been Mekadosh Chodesh. What kind of Bezdin? You need a Bezdin of Mumchem. And over there it says Moshe and Aaron, you have to have maybe even Smuchim. You have to have a Chashav Bezdin, Sanhedrin, that should be Mekadosh Chodesh. And that doesn't apply to Shabbos, and it doesn't apply to Moedim. What doesn't apply? By Shabbos, you don't need Kiddush Bezdin at all. There's nothing to do with Bezdin at all. And by Nedarim, even though there is such a thing as a Bezdin, but you don't need Mumchem. Even though by the Sanhedrin, that you should be Mekadosh Chodesh, you have to have Mumchem. But Ein Parshas Nedarim, Tzvichin Mumchem. Afilu, Bezdin at Yotis is also good enough.
Shalosh.
The more the kasha that you do have to have Rashi Matos, but Parshas the Dor Rashi Matos, you do have to have Mumchem, or Mevchiz, the Vitem, Rabbi Yochanan, Yochad Mumcha. If there's a Mumcha, then one is enough. But you still could have Shalosh Idiotas also. You don't have to have to have a Mumcha. It's also good. Sometimes you do need a Mumcha. If you want to use only one, if you want to have an individual one, then you have to have a Mumcha. Then Rashi Matos. But if you want to use three, that's good enough even at Idiotas. You don't have to be. It's not the same as Kiddush HaChodesh. And the Gemara doesn't say how you know this. The Mefarshim say because it says Eila Mikroi Kodesh. These not Shabbos. These not Nedarim. So back to our problem. Our problem was that Beishamai, how does Beishamai not give him Idiotas? He doesn't have the Gzera Shava. How did the whole system go? He holds in there's no Shev of Hektish, means he doesn't hold the Gzera Shava. If he doesn't hold the Gzera Shava, he can't learn it out from Shlutei Chutz. So how do you know Shalosh Idiotas? The answer is going to be Eila. So we should write down over here Eila. That Beishamai is going to learn it out from, it doesn't say the Gemara Eila, but it means from the drush we learn out that it's not similar to the Moadim. The Moadim, it says you have to have Mumchem.
That's where you're learning it from.
And it says that over there you have to have Mumchem, and Eila means to be Mamai. Only here you have to have Mumchem, but by something else you don't have to have Mumchem. What is that? The Nedarim doesn't have to have Mumchem. That's the answer. So today's topic was how do you know Shalosh Idiotos? The answer is going to be, according to Beis Hillel, they can learn how to Gzera Shava from Shlutei Chutz, and when you come out of shul on Parshas Achrimos, on the way home, you say, what did we learn today in the Parsha? That where do we have in a Parsha that Yom Yotas are good for Het Nedarim? So people will look at you. We don't learn Het Nedarim nowadays. Today in the Parshas Achri, so you know, it says Ar Navana V'chol Yisrael in Parshas Achrimos by Shlutei Chutz, and you learn Gzera Shava, Ze'adavar, that by Nedarim also Shalosh Idiotas are good. That's according to Beis Hillel. According to Beis Shammai, you have to wait till Parshas Emor. And when you're going home from shul on Parshas Emor, you ask, where did we learn in today's Parsha that Het Nedarim is B'Shalosh Idiotas? So they look at you like you came from the moon, and you say because it says Eila. Over here you have to have a Bezin Mumchem, but by Nedarim you don't have to. Those are the two sources that you know that Shalosh Idiotas are good by Nedarim.
Got to remember this for.
Parshas Achri and Parshas Emor.
Remind us.
And this is fascinating that by the Het Nedarim, we're learning Parshas Nedarim, in Parshas Nedarim, you have to go to these places to learn out that Shalosh Idiotas are kosher to be Matan Nedarim.
That we find generally, maybe you'll give a share on it why, but generally find to return a shir makamacha. No, it's a chazal.
I don't know if that's what it means, but this is called Gzera Shava. You have to have Gzera Shava to learn that. I'm not sure if that's what they meant when they say that. Okay, you have to have other information in order to understand one thing. You have to have other information in other places. That's the end of that sugya. So we learned out that Shalosh Idiotos are good by Het Nedarim, two sources, either from Beishamai from Beis Hillel, and Yochad Mumcha, that's from Rashi Matos. And Rashi Matos, even though the whole parsha there is really talking about the father and the daughter, has nothing to do with Rashi Matos, but there is something in the beginning about Ishki Yidor Neder Lo Yachel Devaro, and we learn out from Rashi Matos that you have to have a Yochad Mumcha. When do you have to have a Mumcha? Only if it's a Yochad, but if it's going to be three, then even Idiotas are good because of these two drushes. That's good. Go on to New Gemara.
Which Chumash has the most mitzvahs? Rashi has the least.
Right.
Which Chumash? Vayikra?
I don't know the number.
I think
Either Dvarim or Vayikra.
Sefer, I think Sefer Chinuch is biggest on Dvarim.
And probably Dvarim.
Okay, New Gemara. We're going to start today. It's going to finish tomorrow. We'll just start today, and I don't know too much yet, but tomorrow I think we'll get smarter. And we're waiting for tomorrow's Gemara also for yesterday's Gemara. It's an iron test. That's going to be to help out yesterday
Tomorrow's a big day.
and to help out today. Yesterday we had something about being like made for believe. He said you do it believe even. You don't have to say anything. You just say in your heart, mufala. So we're still waiting for tomorrow to see what that's about.
We concluded that you can.
They still said you can, but we said don't do anything yet because we have to go to the Davine test.
Don't count on it.
In the halacha, it's not going to say that, so we have to wait till Davine test to get smarter. But today also Gemara also we're not going to finish.
That's why
We're
we were
just gonna
fighting
finish.
so much, because we didn't feel it was the right thing.
That's why what?
That's why we were arguing so much, because it sounds right. But if you don't understand.
You arguing?
I was. I
You wasn't
couldn't understand. I wanted the word to be spoken.
Hmm.
Yeah, you told me.
You wanted a word against the word.
You
You can't knock out a word with a thought. That was your kasha yesterday.
Right. It was
Okay.
weak. It didn't have any
Okay.
power.
We'll see tomorrow still. So far, we still said you could. I'm Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina said, Hashose, this is fascinating, even the concept, but it starts off with, I won't say the maskana if we pass like this yet. We'll wait for tomorrow to make it more exciting. I'm Rabbi Chanina. Hashose, Kalmanasla Mekat. Mayfair Apilu Mikan Balasoyam. If somebody is quiet just in order to agitate, means his wife made a neder, and she's expecting that he should be made for the neder. Women do that. They make a neder expecting that the husband should undo it. If you love me, I said I'm not going to eat apples, and you just be quiet. You don't take it. If you love me, you'll be made for the neder.
Lemetak means to.
Mekat means to
Lemekat.
agitate.
To agitate a mayfair.
Mayfair, if he did, he was quiet in order to agitate. It means she made a neder,
Okay.
and she would like him to be made for the neder. So what do you mean? You made the neder. Why should I be made for it? Kasha. But the women expect. Other Gemaras also say this, that the woman expects that her husband should be made for the neder, and if he doesn't, it means that
He doesn't love her.
doesn't love her. Okay.
Plan for next year, doesn't matter.
So here, he did want to agitate her by not being made for the neder right away. He really wanted to be made for the neder. It could be that she's making the dorm. I'm not saying he's not a bad man. It could be a good man. What's she making the dorm for? So she should know that it's serious. She shouldn't be so
Maybe he's
so-
educated.
maybe he's educated, but the word make doesn't mean educated, it means agitate. But it sounds similar.
Metak.
But it's the make is to make up for the
Mekat.
make right? Like tata. Tata means to fight.
Tap.
Yeah, the make So what? So it doesn't say why the fight. Maybe he's a
Mayfair
bad
part of
man.
the sentence?
What?
Is it part of the sentence?
That's the case. Shosek Amanas Lameka.
Huh?
Shosek Amanas Lameka. That's the case.
Mayfair. The word
Mayfair is the
Mayfair
psak. Mayfair is going to be the psak.
Oh.
Is the case and a psak. The case was Shosek Amanas Lameka, that he was quiet in order to agitate her. That means that really sometimes when the man is quiet, the husband or the father is quiet, is because he wants to really be mekayim. He wants to affirm it. She made a neder and he's affirming it. But here the case was that he really wanted to be made for it. He has a choice. He could nullify it and he could affirm it. This case was he really intended to nullify it. But he didn't want to tell her right away. He wanted her to.
Is it
He has 10 days.
Is it?
He has 10 days to say that's what I meant.
I didn't say anything. I didn't read. You're reading the whole sentence. I just started. I just got to make it.
Is it the same day or is it the next day?
I didn't say anything yet. He was quiet. He really wanted to be made for. He really wanted to nullify the neder, but he didn't tell her because he wanted to agitate her. So, and the day passed. So he's quiet the whole day.
That's a law.
What? So it's too late.
Yeah.
Right? So here it says that since in his mind he had in mind to nullify it. Mayfair Afilu Mikana Yam. He could be made for even tomorrow.
Since he wants to nullify it.
Since he wants not that he nullified. Till now we spoke about cases that he nullified it in his heart, or he said a kind of term, whatever. But here he didn't nullify it, but he had in mind to nullify it. He was being quiet. He still had intention to nullify it. That's a big chiddush. He has intention to nullify it, with the intention of nullifying it later. Not that he nullified it now in his heart. He has the intention to nullify it. So it says a huge chiddush that the day is not over. Mayfair Afilu Makana Yam. He could do it even. Where does he get it from? Because the quiet, the silence of the pasuk is talking about that he was silent because he wanted to affirm it. Or we're going to see in the Gemara soon also, even if he didn't know, he's thinking about it. If he's thinking about it also, that's called being quiet. But if he's quiet with opposite intention of being quiet. Quiet is either, why is a person quiet? Either he doesn't know, or he's quiet. It means that she makes an neder. Like sometimes you say something, you want the other person to respond, and no response. Like, what do they call that? A thundering silence. Like that she made a neder, and she's expecting him to be made for, and he's not made for her. He looks at her and says, like, he doesn't say anything, right? That's called hechrish law. That's why he's quiet, and that's why that is mekayim the neder. He's mekayim the neder by affirming it, by being quiet, so he could verbally affirm it, and you could be also quietly affirm it by not saying anything.
How can you quietly not affect it? That's what
By
I.
being made. Well, no, it's hard. But if in his heart, if in his heart, he is being. It's another kind of way of being. Another way of being silent. He just on the outside, he's showing as if he's affirming it by being quiet. But in his heart, he really has in mind to nullify it. So maybe that's not called the silence that the Torah talks about. The Torah talks about either nullify it or you're quiet. But the quiet, the silence, is a way of affirming it. Either I don't know yet, I'll think about it, and he only has a limit, he has a deadline to think it till the end of the day, or that he's definitely being quiet in order to affirm it. But if he's being quiet only as a show, he really in his mind has the whole time to nullify it. Rabbi Chanina says that's okay. So the day's not over yet. And he could even decide, he could even not decide, he decided already. He decided that he's gonna nullify it. If he decided that he's gonna nullify it, even 10 days later, he could nullify it.
That's Yochid or everybody's gonna go?
Rabbi Chanina said so. So
Why aren't you saying like it was a license that he wanted? He wanted to.
that's what I said.
You said he has intention, but he didn't nullify it yet.
What did Rabbi Nissan say?
Ms. Hardy, no?
Yeah, just didn't say that.
You
What?
didn't say that?
No.
You said you also didn't quote. You said that he wanted to nullify it. So I said, yeah, he also said he wanted to nullify it. Not that he nullified it. You're saying that he nullified it in his heart.
If
That's
the
the-
day passes and he wants to nullify it, it's good enough. He has
As long
10
as the whole
days
time he wanted
nullify.
to nullify. The whole
He
time
can
he wanted to
nullify it,
nullify.
but he can be quiet.
Even though he's quiet,
Even
since
though
he
he's
wants
quiet
to
6
nullify.
days later,
But the whole time he wanted to nullify it.
and then he says, and so now on the 6th day, I'm nullifying.
Right. 10th day,
10th day.
20th day.
Well, it says 10 days.
Yeah. But it means I feel
I'm
it.
saying wants to, not wanted. Wanted means that he wanted, but he was not able to. He wants that he's still.
He intends to. Either wanted to, either way would be the same. Either way would be the same. That he didn't actually nullify it, not verbally and not mentally. And not mentally. That means he didn't nullify it by saying mufalachi. He had in mind that I'm going to be, he didn't even say in his heart that I hereby nullify it.
Right,
He just
because
said-
then
He
we
was
would have a
intending,
question.
he's intending, he has no question. He's intending to nullify it. I'll nullify it tomorrow.
Oh, he didn't forget, he didn't forget. He
He
just.
didn't
No,
forget.
I don't
That
think
must come.
he's-
Yeah,
As long as he intends to nullify. So this is a chiddush. Tell me we just knew about his mouth didn't talk. He didn't talk. He was quiet. Now we're saying there are different ways of being quiet. One is that he's quiet
That's
because
just crazy because.
What? Why is he crazy?
Because there's no way to know what's in somebody's heart.
Oh, he knows what's in his heart. You want to know if he's lying later on? That's a different subject. But he knows, and he tells. So if he's not lying, he tells us, he tells us what we should know that I had in mind the whole time to be made for it. And he goes to the Rav. The Rav says, "You had in mind the whole
And
time."
you're
So
saying,
he
is
says,
this called a hachrasha?
is it called?
Is there a word hachrasha?
What is that pasham?
Hachresh?
To be quiet. Was it? What the
I
pasuk
thought
says,
the word
"Machresh
hachresh means that you agree
means
to be
quiet.
quiet.
In Machresh, the pasuk says if he's quiet till the end of the day, so it's affirmed. Now we're analyzing what does the pasuk mean, and even though read the pasuk plain shot, he would have said if he's quiet physically, he was quiet. He didn't say anything till the end of the day. It's
You would assume
affirmed.
that.
Now he's saying you should know. It
There's
depends.
two kinds of quiet.
There are even three kinds of quiet. Maybe there's a kind of quiet that he looks at her and doesn't say anything. That means that
He affirmed.
he affirmed it. He affirms it, but being quiet.
And then there's a quiet.
Then there's a quiet that
Assume.
outside he looks like that, but inside he's really wants to be made for it. It's just a
That's-
show.
This one.
There's this one, and there's also a stamp that he's thinking about it. That he doesn't know. I'm going to think about it.
But
And
then
to
he
think,
only
to
has.
think
a
about
day.
it, he has till the end of the day.
Then he only has. a day.
Okay, that's Rav Chanina's chiddush. That if he had in mind the whole time,
There's
so
another
that's
one.
not called the
There's a
silence.
fourth one, that he thinks that absolutely in his heart he does want to do,
That's the
Okay.
first
and
one.
then it works.
He does want to say again.
That was the
I missed the words.
That was the
That
first-
he
He
thinks
make her believe boy, he doesn't say anything. It's also
that he actually was made for.
actually
Not
the
only
late-
that he wants to be made for, he actually was made for.
as of yesterday. I'm not
Okay, so
telling you
that-
tomorrow. today.
It's okay. That was yesterday. So
That was
we have to see
yesterday.
tomorrow. That was the
We
thing
have
about
actually
being
four.
made for a believer. That he
Oh,
was,
that he's made for. But
like I said yesterday, Sugi, the words were Tzar Sheivato Belibo. He still says Kivato Belibo Afilu on the weekday, so we don't know that yet. Good. Okay, that's the Gemara. Not Gemara is the kasha today. There can be a few kashas, but we're only going to do one kasha and one terrace today. Masiv Rabba. This we had a couple of times. This Bryson. The Bryson said this rope. The din of this rope. What does this rope mean? If there was husband and a arusa, and there was a husband and a father, they need a joint effort. Both of them should be made for. And it says if the husband dies, then the father gets the full authority.
Yeah.
But the Bryson said that's only provided that the husband was not Mekayim, he didn't affirm it. But if the husband affirmed it before he died, so then the father cannot be Mefer by himself. Again,
Mhm.
yeah, that's good. Everybody remembers that?
Yeah.
There was a
because
din about the
once he
stroke,
affirms, he couldn't,
then he can't, then.
even if it was only by himself, once he affirms, he can't.
Okay, so again, just we call that again, is a halacha that an arusa needs both the father and the husband to jointly be mefer. And over there it says that if the husband died, if the authority gets transferred to the father by himself, and the Brisa says on that, that's only provided that the husband did not affirm it before he died. But if he affirmed it, then even after he dies, the father does not get the authority. The Brisa, when it's going to say affirming, it's going to give a few examples of how he affirmed it. This is the Brisa that had 5 cases over here, 3 and 2, 3 cases of not affirming it, and 2 cases of affirming it. When did we say that if the husband dies, the authority gets transferred to the father alone, and he can be mefer? Bisman shelo shama abal, o shashama v'shasak, o shashama v'hefer omeis bo b'yam. 3 cases. They're all cases that he did not affirm. Either he didn't hear about the neder at all, the husband didn't hear about it, he died, he never heard about this neder, or he heard and he was quiet. Oh, you're right. I have to. This is a mistake. It should be Osha Shama Behefer. We had it before. Same mistake over there. Shama Behefer. I'm changing around the words a little bit. Shama Behefer means that he nullified, and before he died, the husband nullified it before he died, and now the father is the only one left, and he's asked if he's Mefer, he's Mefer. Oh, Shama. Skip these words. I'll just take it out a second just to make it easier to read. Oh, if he was quiet and he died on the same day, so there was no affirmation yet, because in order to affirm it has to be that the whole day passed. But he heard the neder and he didn't say anything, but the day didn't pass yet. So that's not considered an affirmation. So now when he dies, the father is the sole authority and he could be made. But this is the main point. The main point we want now is the end of the brisa, that it says that if the husband did affirm, then the husband, even if he dies, the father cannot nullify. Aval Shama B'Kiyin, one case, that the husband heard about it and he affirmed it, which the Chorah means he affirmed it verbally. Or he heard and it was quiet the whole day, and he died the next day. That's what we call a passive kind of affirmation, that he was quiet. A simple, innocent brisa. Because the husband was already Mekayim. So we knew the brisa, and what does it say? Does it say something about the case of being quiet to put on a show in order to agitate her? Does it say that? The Gemara sees in this brisa that the case of Shama V'Shasak means that he was just doing it in order to agitate her. How do you see that? Doesn't the brisa mean even if he was doing it just to agitate her, he really intended to nullify it? No, who says? Lo, like what do you see? What do you see over here? The Gemara says, what's the difference? Then it would have been the same thing. If he would have been quiet as a positive affirmation, he didn't say anything. There's an active that he says something, a verbal affirmation. But the Gemara looks at what? The Gemara looks at even if he's quiet, he didn't verbally affirm, but he was actively being silent.
Uncommittal.
Means he was silent with the purpose of being Mekayim. The Gemara doesn't see the difference between the two. If he verbally was Mekayim or he was quiet with the intention of being Mekayim, both of them is the same thing. The Gemara doesn't think that it should say both things. It's all the same. There's no difference if you verbally affirm or you are quiet with the intention, as a way of affirmation. I would have thought that it's a chiddush. I would have thought that the Brisa should say both cases. Even in the Torah, in the Torah, you don't even see such thing as verbally. But the Gemara sees the problem that it will be the same thing. To verbally be Mekayim or to be quiet the whole day with the intention of being Mekayim is the same thing. So it must be that it's telling you a chiddush, even if he was quiet and he did not have the intention of affirming, he was really intending to nullify. It's still considered a kiyum. So it's against Rabbi Chanina. No, the Gemara gets out of it. There's not a way to be quiet. That he really doesn't know. He's thinking about it. And that also, there's a limit, there's a deadline till the end of the day. So you don't see your chiddush. There's a kind of, so now the Gemara is saying there are 3 kinds of silence, which we said, and 2 of them, you're right, if there's a silence that he intended with the silence to affirm, surely that's considered affirmation. And if he was quiet because he didn't know, he was quiet because he didn't know, he's thinking about it. I have time to think about it. Don't know. Do I want to nullify it? Whatever. I don't know. That also is considered affirmation till the end of the day. And the Rabbi Chanina's Kiddush, we don't know about the Rabbi Chanina says, but if he was silent with the intention of nullifying it, it's not considered an affirmation. And we didn't knock him off yet. So we're still in the middle. The Gemara is going to continue. Tomorrow is going to be more cautious on Rabbi Chanina, but so far we didn't knock him off. Yasha Cohen.
It's not happy, you can go to Nardor.
What is that?
Whoever's not happy, you can go to Nardor.
I think I'll find it there.